is here with me on that side or somewhere. Thank you very much. We are so excited. We have Jessica Lynn is on the show today, and we're going to be talking about music and the music business, and it's going to be so exciting. I'm really, really thrilled. And but first, you have to listen to our little dance. Ba-dum-bum-bum. Cool. All right. Well, like I said, Jessica Lynn is here today, and she's incredibly talented and really, really doing some great things. I've been listening to her music. She's got these really, really great songs. I was listening today to her new single, which is better than that. That is awesome. That is an awesome track. So I'm really excited. So, George, why don't you tell us a little bit about Jessica?
Sure, absolutely. So Jessica Lynn is being hailed by press around the world as a rocket force and is quickly becoming a household name. A unique force and voice in modern music, she has been seen by millions on the road and in her 3 full-length nationwide concert television specials. Jessica's powerful voice and fierce stage presence showcase the multifaceted singer, songwriter's instrumental talents, playing piano, guitar, harmonica, and the drums. All right, I love that one. Jessica has released many singles that have climbed the charts, including Let's Don't, which peaked in the top 40 on America Country Radio in 2018. Jessica has been featured in publications such as America's Songwriter Magazine, CMT, Billboard, and All Access, just to name a few. And she will soon be releasing her first full-length debut album called Lone Rider, and we are very excited to have her on this program. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jessica Lynn.
Woo!
Yes.
All right. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We're doing well. Thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate you taking the time. I know your schedule, what it is. You were just telling us, and I'm like, whoa. So we really appreciate you taking the time. I was just on your. George has like questions. He's like the official guy. I'm sort of like the guy that just have things
Goes
in my
with the
head.
flow.
Yeah. But I was just on your live like a few minutes ago, or about a half an hour ago, and you were talking about how a lot of it you did on your own. A lot of it you kind of like you don't sleep, that kind of a, and it's such an identifiable thing for me and George. We're both musicians. I'm a filmmaker, and when you have this kind of passion, it's like you can't really sleep because if you know you have to get that thing done. For you to sleep, you got to get it done, and then you can take your nice little 20-minute nap or whatever it is. But how do you manage that with your schedule right now?
It's true. Artistic careers are so difficult to manage. Like if you work in an office, and I'm not saying other careers are not difficult at all. It's just different because your work is never done. So say you work at my friend's an IT guy. He says, when my project's done for the day, 5 o'clock when I clock out, that's it. I go home, I play video games, I hang out, I go to dinner. When you're an artist, there's always another song to write. There's always another country to tackle or another skill to learn on your instrument. And the work is for you. So it's such a different mindset. There's never an end in sight, and which is exciting because there's always something to do, but also really overwhelming. And I'm a super type A personality. Anyone that knows me, I mean, like in college, and I'm not lying to you about this, my husband still teases me. I would get the syllabus in the beginning of the class and do the entire class before the class actually even started.
Wow.
Oh my Lord.
Like that's how my brain works because I don't like having things not completed.
Right.
And
wow, I'm gonna have to introduce you to my daughter.
Yeah, she needs to learn a lot.
Yeah.
So it's I work very, very hard at what I do, and I'm an extreme perfectionist. I mean, this morning I literally sat at my laptop at 6:30. I haven't taken a break yet.
Wow.
So it's but when you love what you do, like you
Right.
said, you want to keep going because you don't want to shut your brain off. It's exciting, it's
Right.
adventurous, it's all
Right.
these great things too. So you're right. What do they say? You can sleep when you're dead.
Right, exactly.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
especially when you're seeing results from your work
Mhm.
and things are happening and you see that ball rolling and you're like, oh man, I got to make this, I got to push this further. It's like, it's really hard to just not to turn it off. And yeah, I have, like, my wife's a teacher. So, at 3 o'clock, she's out, she's home, and she does, stuff at home because she's got to do things
Of
for the
course.
kids and stuff like that. But in my mind, I'm thinking like, wow, what's that like?
I just said that the other day. Like, wouldn't it be so nice? And teachers do have a lot of, actually,
They
my
do.
master's degree, I have a master's in education,
Oh, wow. Awesome.
which has kind of played into my story in a lot of really kind of strange and interesting ways. But, I always said that, like, what would it be like to just at 5 o'clock be like, don't care,
I'm out.
goodbye.
See you Monday morning.
Exactly.
Yeah. But
It's
it's so
amazing.
funny too, because you always want what you don't have, right? So
Right.
years ago, I had a talk, I remember, with a girlfriend who, she's a teacher. She just bought her own her house, she was getting ready to have kids. She was very financially stable. And I said, like, I look at you and sometimes I'm like, I wish I could be that stable, not be living out of a suitcase, or never knowing. Sometimes as a musician and artist, you don't know when your next paycheck is coming
Right.
sometimes. And, so I said, sometimes I wish I could be like you. Like, what would it be like to have that type of life? And,
Yeah.
and she said to me, she was like, are you kidding me? What I would give to not have to wake up at the same time every day, to get to travel the world, to get to
Wow.
have this adventure that you live. And it
It is.
really kind of put things in perspective for me. You never, you take for granted a lot of stuff, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you just never know.
Absolutely. So how did you make that transition? Because obviously you had all that education, right? So and obviously you did grow up in a musical family, right? Because your dad's a musician, your mom's in music and that type of thing, and they're part of your whole, your journey at this point.
Mm-hmm.
How did you make the transition from, college and doing all that, and then all of a sudden into music? Was it just something that you just happened because mom and dad were musicians, or how did that work?
So it was kind of backwards from that,
Okay.
actually,
Okay.
where I always knew music was what I wanted to do.
Oh,
Mm.
okay.
Like, as
Interesting.
early as 6 years old. I mean, earlier than that. My parents have videos of me like performing. I mean, I would make my little sister hold like flashlights at my bed, like
Oh,
with me up
nice.
there, like
Nice.
literally 5, 6 years old. I just knew this is what I was going to do.
Right.
I had like the little, what is it, Tinker Tots or Tinker, the
Oh
piano. And I
yeah.
was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
3 years old that I would sit and play all day.
Mm,
It's just kind
mm.
of in my veins,
Yeah. Yeah.
music. So when I was 13, I started my first band, and I worked those kids like to death. I mean,
I was just thinking about you at 13.
that might be why none of them are musicians anymore. They're like traumatized from my work ethic. But every day after the school bus, we would get off at the bass player's house, play. I would write all the music. We learned like a whole 2 sets of material. And I was like, this is it. I'm going to really push this band. And we actually were playing all over Manhattan,
Wow.
clubs like the Bitter End, Webster Hall.
Yeah.
We actually came in 4th place in an international battle of the bands against all adult groups.
Wow.
Nice. Nice.
So we worked really hard and we came very close to a record deal. And
Wow.
unfortunately, that was when I was 16. The other kids were kids, they just
Yeah.
didn't. I always had that adult mentality. And
Right.
basically,
Yeah.
long story short, they ruined the opportunity for me. So I was really heartbroken. I tried for years to put that band back together, but it was never that same special spark because we
Mm.
were all childhood best friends that had this just special chemistry. I don't know. It was
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
Yes.
that I could never recreate. So after that whole heartbreak, I said, I'm going to go to school, because even though I'm going to keep full-time pursuing music, I saw that you could be so close to something so big and then
Interesting.
everything's gone.
Wow.
So I said, I don't plan on being a teacher, but I love working with kids. Teaching's kind of like entertaining, where you have to entertain your audience, you have to be creative. So I said, there's a lot of similarities here. And I just love being with people. And so I went to school for that, but was still full-time pursuing a music career. And at that time too, I decided I was going to be a solo artist, because I said, if anyone's ever going to ruin this for me, I want it to be me only.
Right.
I want to have no regrets.
Right.
Yeah.
And so while I was studying, I was writing so much music. We actually filmed my first television special that wound up kicking off my whole career while I was student teaching. So I was up at like 4:30 in the morning and in the teaching all day, going to classes all after that, and then being in the studio till like 1 a.m. just trying to make all of this a reality. I'll never forget my last day of college, like when I graduated. I had this big like poster board we had to like present, and I was just so tired and so ready to be done. I remember I ran out of the building and I threw it in the dumpster.
Oh my God. Yeah, you were really done.
I was, but it taught me so much. My master's is in special education and my bachelor's is in math. So I'm certified to teach 5th or 12th grade math or special ed. And working with kids with special needs has honestly been one of like the greatest joys of my life. They taught me so much about never judge a book by its cover, and you know, just wanting to be wanted, and you know, how much pressure we put on ourselves to be perfect or like everybody else. And I feel like sometimes I would look back, be like, oh man, you know, if I didn't go to school, I would have had so much more time to make my dreams a reality earlier.
Right.
But I would not be the person, like the tolerant, kind, understanding person that I am today if I didn't experience all of that. So I'm so grateful how my journey kind of panned out. But that's how I wound up doing music.
Discipline.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because, and John, we were having a conversation yesterday with our guest yesterday about the path, right? And how long the path sometimes takes. Yeah. And sometimes you have to go through those things in order to come out the other side and say, you know what, it was worth it when I went through that part of my life, because it made me who I am today and actually made me a better person and able to do what I need to do.
Yeah. And the work ethic that you get from having to, you know, wake up at 4 and be in the studio till 1 a.m.
Right.
And,
exactly.
And that grind, you know, when you're done with school, no wonder you threw that in the, you were like, all right, I'm done. Now I'm just going to go to work and do some music.
Right.
But I said, teaching will always be there for me. If I want to teach when I'm 60 years old, I can. My degree doesn't go away.
Exactly.
You know, and so and we've been very well. I hate to say I'm lucky because I work harder than anyone I know, but it's just been up and up every year in terms of music. And you're right, life brings you where you're supposed to be. The pandemic brought me to where I was supposed to be musically. And I always look back to, if I had gotten that deal when I was 16, this industry, knowing what I know now, being screwed so many times, heartbroken so many times, being taken advantage of, broken down, beat down, I would have not survived.
Right.
Like, I am so grateful that did not, it wasn't meant to be. And that's why it didn't happen.
Yeah. And you're doing so amazing, you know, right now. It's like that was a path, you know, I was saying yesterday, one of the things that we were saying was when you're going through all these, like these things that you kind of think, okay, well, I'm doing this, but I want to kind of, you know, I'm kind of doing all of it. But when you look back on it, it's really like a well-crafted novel of your journey that was perfectly set the way it should have been, where now you have references to go back and say, this is part of why I wrote this song. Working with special needs is it's gonna bring something else into your music. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So that's very well done on doing that. I have one question, George. I'll let you say it.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
You mentioned the music industry and the music business. You've been doing a lot of this on your own in an industry that sort of still doesn't really know itself at the moment. It's still kind of evolving into something that we're not really sure yet, but whatever it is, that's what it is. How do you maneuver that? How do you actually operate in this industry and you've done so amazing. It's like, it's really, really a wonderful thing.
Thanks. It's been very challenging. I mean, there are so many days where I wake up and like beat my head against the wall, like, what do I do today? How do I move forward? How do I make this better? And being an independent artist, it's all up to me. There's nobody in an office I can call and be like, I'm a little stuck with what to do next, or where should we bring this tour? I mean, I literally have to sit there and do it. And it's wonderful, but it's also scary. And even with live streams, I mean, like that, it kind of, the way the business was changing, I lost a world tour in 2020, 2021, and 2022.
Right.
It was 15 countries. It was the biggest tour of my career so far, about 100 cities, and I booked almost all of it. So that was a very huge loss.
Wow.
Not just in terms as an artist, but as an entrepreneur. I mean, it was a big deal. And we were playing massive shows too, like the Grand Prix of Germany and like some of the largest country festivals across the world, which we will be doing next year. So it's okay. Sure. But when that happened, I definitely cried and just felt really depressed for a while. And I didn't know what to do, because how do you move forward in a business that's just gone? Like,
exactly.
And after kind of letting myself feel everything I needed to feel, I always laugh. I say it's probably like the feisty New York Italian in me that was like, I'm not letting this thing beat me. Like, oh, hell no. Yeah. So we bought cameras, lighting, all stuff. Being out of work and having no money, we invested and turned our living room basically into like a production studio. And we wound up actually being top 25 live streamer of the year on the internet by Lonestar. So amazing. It was so cool to turn such sour lemons into, sweet lemonade. Right. And it shows you that if you work hard enough, you can make anything happen for yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's, one thing you said there, because your story is about perseverance the whole way through. And that's one of the reasons why we do this show, because we want to help other artists and just artists in general who are going through those times, whether it's during a pandemic or not, to say, you can achieve your goals. What is it that you feel that you had the mindset that tells you I need to keep going? What is it that little thing that you have there that makes you push through?
I really believe, to be honest with you, that's what makes people succeed in life. There's a million girls out there that can sing and play the guitar, right. or whatever, but not that work as hard as I do, or that have the ability to get up after being so kicked down and like brush yourself off and be like, okay, I'm going to try again, because that is the hardest thing in life to do.
Absolutely.
And if you can do that, you will succeed.
Yes.
And it's just a difference in personality. Maybe it's a difference in passion. When the pandemic hit, I remember seeing so many artists that I followed or knew, independent artists. I'm going to take a break from social media for a while. And that's just the different mentality. Either they don't love music as much as I do, or they don't have that fight light inside, I guess you could call it, but it was just totally a different mindset. And I really believe that. I think that comes from just really believing in what you do and knowing that there's a million people out in the world, and not everybody is always going to like you or support you or believe in what you do. But as long as you do and you give it your best shot, there are going to be so many people out there that do. You're like, how many people don't like sometimes I'll look at like Celine Dion videos on YouTube, and there are all these nasty comments like, oh, so terrible. I'm like, if people don't like Celine Dion's voice, like, I think it's okay if some people don't like mine. You just have to believe in what you do. People are always not going to like it. but
Right.
it can always be despite that, you know?
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, that's definitely important, and it's also there's so many distractions today. You know, just for I'm in Nashville, right? So you go down to Broadway on any given whatever. I try to stay away from there, but when I do go down, when friends are visiting, and you'll see like all great performers, up and down that strip there, but the distractions that you run into when you meet any of them or when you have a conversation with them, they're pounding drinks, they're they're I don't know, behave. I don't know, this thing. It's that thing that you mentioned where they're not refined in the sense that they're not really focused on what they were doing. They're focused on the fact that they did it, and now that's the thing, and they're not focused on what's forward. From what I see, I mean, there's
Yeah.
my own interpretation of it, but that's what I kind of feel with artists, that are just not focused. I'm like, we talked about it yesterday with Kelly Hall, Tompkins, right?
Yeah.
She's a classical violinist. She's on Carnegie Hall and Broadway and all that. You got to be focused to be an artist.
Yes.
You got to be focused like hell. It's because you're competing with so many people out there, but you have what they don't have, which is the focus. The fact that you did the syllabus at the.
I can't believe I told you that. That's so
incredible. I tell you, I will always remember that one.
That's the best part. The band at 13, those things just show that you had that from early on, and that's not going anywhere. That's it's a blessing.
It takes an immense amount of discipline. I mean, even when we're on the road, sometimes the guys and my band is very like straight laced. Like I have like a no drinking policy. It shows, like we're here to work. We're not here to party or have fun. And everybody has the same mindset of me. They're very professional. My band has been with me since 2012. So that shows you what type of people we are and how we get along and work well together.
Yeah.
But, sometimes they're like hanging out late at night or having a drink at the bar or something. And I go to bed because I have to wake up in the morning, get my workout in, do my vocal warm-ups. It's not a fun lifestyle some of the time because there's so much pressure. Like I have to make sure I get more sleep than everybody else. I have to make sure I'm not talking to people for so long at that bar because my voice is going to be tired in the morning. So that's the discipline. It's like I train, like I'm very into physical fitness and stuff. And I train like an athlete before I leave for the tour. While I'm on the tour, I'm up at like 7 a.m. every day doing my insanity workouts so that I can run around better on stage and in the Colorado altitude and wherever that I am not out of breath when I'm performing. It takes a lot of dedication that a lot of people just don't have.
Right.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that John, you and I, when we performed, we had kind of a similar mentality, right? She reminds me of that because, we were very similar in that when we performed in a lot of those clubs, the Bitter End and all those places, but we were very like, okay, focus, no drinking, no smoking, no nothing. This is what we're doing. And like you said, it'll translate as time goes along because that work ethic will come out and it'll show in the success that you're having. So it does make such a difference where, you get to see all those other people who, like John said, they're not taking it seriously. They're just, they just jump on. I mean, we had even talking about people who don't practice. I was a nut about practicing.
I know.
We talked about it. I wanted to go home and practice, and if another band member wasn't practicing the way I was upset about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it is a different mindset. It is.
Yeah. It is.
And we had a situation where one of our bandmates passed away suddenly.
Sorry.
And that kind of ended because we were doing well. We were playing big shows and we had a couple songs out, local radio. And after he was gone, we tried what you said earlier about trying to put that band together after 13. It kind of just brought that because we tried again to put that together again. And it was just didn't have that same
chemistry,
that same thing. And George and I just kind of said, let's just go and do something else, But it's a really difficult industry. We have about 5 minutes. George, you have a question?
No,
I have a ton.
Go for it.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the people that you've met and how that experience was, like Loretta Lynn, for instance. Like, oh my God, like.
I don't often get starstruck, but she was one that kind of got me.
Oh, wow.
Because she looks like a queen. Like,
Really?
She is.
like,
Yeah.
She really is, isn't she?
I mean, she is, but like, I wasn't expecting. I mean, her kids are all in her band too, so we all really bonded over the family dynamic within our
that's
groups.
awesome.
And I remember her daughter came in, Patty, I think her name was, came into the dressing room, was like, "You want to come meet mom now?" Like after my sound check, I was like, "Yeah." So we went into her dressing room, and she was sitting on this big chair with these like arms, with this big red gown, and just like, "Hello, darling." I was like, "Oh my God, like you're Loretta Lynn." Like it was. She just, she like she just looked like a queen in that sparkle gown with her hair just kind of sitting like so regal almost. But my biggest starstruck moments would have to be ZZ Top. We opened for them in an arena overseas.
Nice.
And they're just the coolest dudes. Like, I just always watch their videos, like the way they do the choreography. Like, I don't think any other pair of dudes could get away with that. You know what I mean?
I love
They're just so cool. And I always admired them that they did something different, like the cool guitars and the, the choreography, and their music's just like so cool.
Yeah, and it's so authentic.
Yes, very authentic.
So authentic. It was them. Billy Gibbons is one of those guitar players where he's like a brilliant guitar player, but he's kind of known as like ZZ Top, the guitar player. And I'm like, no. I'm like, this dude is like an amazing guitar player. And then the rest of it was all fun, you know what I mean? But just the music was really what just inspiring, man.
Yeah. So, and in today's world of artistry, it's so rare to be unique. Right. And that's why I honestly don't listen to a lot of modern radio or artists, because I find them all to be so the same. I mean, I'm a huge like Beach Boys fan, The Temptations fan, Shania Twain fan, because she always did stuff that was unique and special. Artists that really, when you hear them, it's them immediately, which is very difficult in today's, especially the country music world. Yeah. But my best starstruck moment of all time was with Richard Marx.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
I am a huge Richard Marx fan. He was my very first concert when I was 5 years old.
Oh, nice.
And
cool.
I was in the arena, and my parents took me to see him. And I remember he looked my way, and I was like so excited, like yelling at him. And he turned and went like this, and he waved back, and it like made my whole life.
That's it.
And then years later, right before the pandemic, actually February of 2020, I saw he was coming to a theater near me. And I had a mutual friend that had his manager's email address. So his old manager's email address. So I was like, you know what do I have to lose? I'm just going to send him an email and just see what happens. And that's kind of been my whole career. I don't have the money to go on this tour, but you know what? I'm just going to go and just see what happens. Or I have no idea what I'm doing this, but I'm just going to do it and see what happens. And what's the worst that could happen? You wind up right where you started, and that's really it. So I sent him an email, and he actually responded.
Look at that.
And so he said, normally I don't have openers, but I listen to your music and I would love to have you open.
Wow.
And,
so you must have been running around.
I screamed. I did. I was just like screaming. And so opening for him was really like a highlight of my life, because it was such a full circle moment. Like, I was tearing up backstage thinking, if I could have told that little 5-year-old kid, you're going to be going on a 15-country world tour and starting it, opening for Richard Marx, like, it just made me think about all of my hard work.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Over the years, like, I thought about the journey, the 13 years old, hustling with my guitar through New York City, like doing all these things, all the heartbreak. And, it was really cool, because when I did my opening set, we were playing better than that, actually. And I turned over, and he's standing on the side of the stage, like, and I was like, what is my life right now? Like, this is so crazy.
That's amazing.
It was an amazing experience. Again, it was a 500-seat theater. I've played I've sung the national anthem at like Madison Square Garden. I've played in front of crowds of like 80,000, but It wasn't the biggest show I've ever done, but for me as an artist, journey wise,
Yeah.
it was the most special.
One of those monumental moments that you just, but you know, it's a testament also to what you said earlier about confidence in your own ability and taking that risk. You said, what else can happen? What could go wrong, really? You know, I mean, I end up where I am, which is not a bad place to begin with anyway. You know, so
Yeah.
it's like you take that chance, man. I love that. I love that. So we're at 30 minutes. I mean, we could probably go on for like another
I
hour
know.
talking
You
about
guys
music.
are so much fun.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
We
thank you.
appreciate that. This was so much fun. So your website, I'm gonna show your website so anybody can go there. I got a little thing that just scrolls on the bottom, all fancy.
Thank you. Oh, very fancy.
Yeah. So definitely check out Jessica Lynn's music. It's awesome. Jessica, thank you so much for being on the show. This was an honor. I hope
Absolutely.
you come back sometime, anytime.
And when your full length album comes out, feel free. We'd
Yeah.
love to have you on again and
Thank
definitely talk
you.
about the tracks and everything. Absolutely.
I would
Check
love
my
that.
website.
We
Yeah.
released the next big single in July in the music video, which I'm going to be announcing soon. I can't
Awesome.
wait. And then
Great.
the record will
Awesome.
follow that.
We're looking
Awesome.
forward to that. And we'll definitely be following you on social and watching your journey and experiencing that. So we thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you.
You got it. Take care.
Take care.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Woo!
Wow. Fantastic.
That
Look at that.
was awesome. That
Unbelievable.
was awesome. She was so good. She's
Yeah.
That's exactly the kind of thing that we talk about here is people
Yes.
that have that ability and that mindset, that whole passion, but knowing that it's like it's innate, you know,
Right.
it's in you, you know. It's like
Yes.
there are people that want that,
Mhm.
but they don't realize that it's not out there, it's in here.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's
Exactly.
in here. When you find it
Exactly.
in here, then you can pursue, you know. Wonderful, wonderful. So, all right. Well, thank you, everybody. There's another wonderful interview. Jessica Lynn Music. Check her out. The website down there, jessicalynmusic.org. And check out some of her music. We'll see you all again next time. Take care of yourselves. And as always,